Hey guys, this is Bruce. My What I've been doing for the last 20 years is governance, risk, and compliance. That's cybersecurity. It's a branch of cybersecurity. It's information system security type stuff. It's not entirely technical. There is a technical component. So what I want to do is introduce you to one of the frameworks that's used. It's a connection, a web of rules that's used throughout the industry. This is not the only one. There's many. Governance The government has one called the NIST 800. If you go to Europe, they have one called GDPR. If you are in the retail sector, they have one called PCI DSS. If you and on and on and on. Each one has their own different rules and frameworks, and regardless of what industry you happen to be in, they have to follow these best security practices. And what I'm going to be rolling out over the next few weeks is something called a GRC roadmap. And I'm going to be using NIST cybersecurity framework to explain to you how governance, risk, and compliance works. Now, today, what I'm going to do is talk for about 20 minutes and break this all down so that you can have a simplified understanding of what this is, and then I'll open it up to any questions that you guys have. So I'm not ignoring you. I just need to get through some of this content, and every week I'll roll out little bits and pieces of it. So let's get started. So governance, risk, and compliance. The best way I can explain what this is in a practical way is to show you one of the frameworks. And to do that, we got to start off with where you're actually at. This is the book, by the way, a workbook that's going to come with a course that I'm releasing. But you're going to get, since you guys watch me on a regular basis, you're going to get a very clear understanding right now for free. And if you follow me over time, I'm going to walk you through this entire roadmap and explain to you any questions that you have. I'm open to it. When we go through this, in the future, I'm going to walk you through how to actually do some of these things. So it's not just me teaching you, it's going to be me walking you through it. And that's going to come a little bit later over time because I got to build you up into this. So we're going to start off with where you are. We're going to talk about your goals, and then we're going to go into governance. What is govern? What is identify? What is protect? What is detect? What is respond? What is recover? All of these are different functions um, of the core functions of what's called the NIST cybersecurity framework. And what you'll see is that they're really just best security practices that every organization, regardless of if you're the government, if you're in the private sector, no matter what country, no matter what language you speak, all of us have to follow these rules in one way, shape, or form. And for those who think that, oh yeah, if we should get rid of all the rules, regulations, or whatever, listen, what I'm talking about here is encryption. What I'm talking about here is making sure you have secure passwords. What I'm talking about here is if you get hacked, what do you do? Those are best security practices that every organization has to do no matter what. And if they don't do it, that's where you get these gigantic hacks from and all of our data getting leaked and all like insider threats, you name it. If we don't follow these things, then that's where real bad things start to happen. Okay. So that's what we're going to be going through over the next few weeks. So what is this roadmap? Why am I laying this out for you? Because GRC, I can explain it to you in one sentence what it is, right? It's the way that an organization puts a process together to implement best security practices. That's what it is in a nutshell. But the best way I can explain this to you is to start off where you happen to be, whatever sector you happen to be in, and then show you where you've actually been a part of it, whether you are a customer, you are a client, or you are actually working in that environment. You've been exposed heavily to governance, risk, and compliance. So my thinking is if I can show you what you've done in your life, whether you worked at McDonald's, you worked in Walmart, you worked in the government, you were a grunt in the Marines, you could have been doing something that had nothing to do with information technology. And believe it or not, you have been exposed to governance, risk, and compliance. And so what I want to do is introduce you to it by showing you something you know, and then showing you how it aligns and maps to what you actually been doing. And that's the best way I can explain how this whole roadmap breaks out. So you'll be hearing me say this over and over again because this is how I'm going to teach you how all this stuff works. And again, for those of you who are joining me late, I'm just going to be talking for about 20 minutes to break this down as much as I can. And through the weeks, we're going to be going through this stuff And just so you know, I'm rolling out a whole thing where we're going to go through all this together, and I have downloadables and all that stuff. But for now, this is some free game. Okay. So what is the roadmap? What I'm going to take you through is govern. What is it? Basically, that's laying the foundation for an organization. Every organization has to have a a portion that part of the organization who is the lead, the head of the organization, who puts the policies together, and everybody follows those policies, right? And all these people who are saying, oh, regulations should be gone, is what they're saying really is that they want to be the person who governs. They want rules, but they want to be the person who develops and puts the rules together so that everybody can follow what they say. So they're not saying that there shouldn't be any rules. They're saying they should be able to do what they want and everybody should follow them. So everybody needs govern. There's no way around it. All right. It's our whole society is based on it. Our whole monetary system is based on it. There's no escape from it. When you do, you're absolutely on your own and you have to make your own governance. So it's the foundation. Identify. So one of the first things you have to do in an organization is identify all the assets you have. What are the things you need to protect? It's just like your home. If you have a home, you have a jewelry box somewhere, you have a place where you stash money, maybe you have your vehicle, your family members, your baby, those are valuable things that you want to know everything of value inside of your home. And then you need to know all the weaknesses. Where are easy places so people can sneak in? Or is there a door that has a weird lock on it? That's part of identify. What are the threats? What are the weaknesses? What are the most important parts of my home or my organization or whatever have you? Protect is making sure the doors are locked. Like we've identified that there's a door that can be jiggled a little bit, and then you can come in. Like, how do we protect ourselves from all of these weaknesses? What do we do on our journey to protect ourselves? And then detect. That's like staying vigilant. That's like the camera system on your house. If we take that same analogy, that's the camera systems, or having lights to turn on if somebody comes in your driveway. How do we detect if something is actually happening in our environment, in our organization? And then the final steps are respond, recover, and then profiles and tiers. So I'll start very quickly with respond. What is it? It's a playbook. It's what are we going to do if something does happen? How do we respond? So we have to have a plan in place. And then how do we recover? You're going to fall at some point. How do we've got to make sure that we can snap back and come back and do what we need to do as an organization. And then profiles and tiers. I put these two together. These are unique to NIST cybersecurity framework. A profile is, the best way I can explain it is, you have two different profiles. You have one is the current profile, what your organization looks like right now. What is the security on your system right now? And where do you want to go? The target. So that's what a profile is. It's saying, okay, here's where we are. Here's where we want to go. And what are the gaps in between to get us from here to there? And tiers are as a real unique way of looking at how much level of effort to get from here to there. In other words, when you're just starting off, let's say you have a startup corporation or organization, whatever, an LLC, you're probably not going to be implementing these super high level firewalls if you have one system in your house and all you need is a broadband, firewall that's built into the broadband. So that's tier 1, is doing the best that you can, all the way up to tier 4, which is like you have 4 or 5 different employees, and you guys are handling very sensitive information. You have to adhere to certain standards to protect credit card information that's coming into your organization. Maybe you have to have an offsite location that's secure, and you're always trying to improve. So there's different levels and tiers to how the level of effort of security that you need to have. So let's start where you are. How do we understand this? How the best way to understand this is for me to look at where you actually are right now. For me to take a question of where you are. So if somebody could tell me, what organizations have you worked in? And I'll be able to tell you where you can start. And if I don't get any, let me see if there's anybody responding. If there's none, then I'll just make something up. I'll just make something up. All right, let me see if there's anybody who's chiming in on industries that you've worked in. What I'm talking about is industries you've worked at. Like if you've ever worked in retail, if you're coming from the government, if you somebody said hospitality or Amazon. Another person said, I've been managed service provider. Okay. So I've got a couple of examples. PCI DSS. I'm seeing people chime in. You've got the right idea. Banking, telecommunications. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is great. Hospitality. Let's start with that one. That one's kind of difficult for me because I've never done that one before. I have. Actually, I have. Actually, I have done hospitality. So hospitality. Correct me if I'm wrong, but hospitality would be things like hotels. So hotels are in the hospitality business because they're they're pampering and taking care of people on a different level than you would at like a normal restaurant or something like that. So hospitality, like a bed and breakfast, or like a, I suppose Airbnb to some level could be considered hospitality because you're taking care of people. So what kinds of things, if we're starting where we are, we're trying to get into GRC, but we've only done hospitality. We've done hotel restaurant management. We've done, let's say we were the clerk in the front of the hotel room. How would you get into GRC? It doesn't sound possible, right? But think about this. As a clerk, you were exposed to certain technologies. You had to use a computer at some point, right? To take customers' information. You had to take their credit card information, which means that system that you were on, that was a computer, that was a point of sale device that has certain software on it that you had to know and you had to protect on some level. Maybe you weren't installing the patches on it, but maybe you were a part of the patching installation in that you had to reboot the system. Maybe you came in one day, and the IT team or your manager said, "Hey, you need to reboot that point of sale system because they just updated with the new patch for whatever the name of the POS system here." There's a couple things here. So a few things that you could put on your resume that will be relevant to governance, risk, and compliance, and you'll see here in a second what I mean, is the software, the device that you're using. These are things that if I, coming from my industry, the government, if I was to sit at that particular system that you were working on, I wouldn't know what the application was called. I wouldn't know what to do with that point of sale system. There's certain things that you have to do with the customer to secure their information. You're exposed to all that stuff. Now, what you need to do is think about the policies that were in place to make all of this stuff happen. Those are very relevant to governance, risk, and compliance because that's what governance, risk, and compliance is. We have to start where we are. That if you're in banking, that's the financial sector. If you're in, if you've worked in healthcare, you're in the healthcare sector. If you worked in pharma, the pharma has their own thing too. That's within the healthcare sector. All of these different areas um, lend themselves to governance, risk, and compliance in some way, shape, or form. So throughout this, I want you to think about all of the hats that you've had to wear, all the industries and sectors you've been in, all the way from when you were little, when you first started. I mean, even when you were in school, like if you were a student or if you were a teacher or something, all of us have had exposure to something called FERPA. Like when you were in school, the teachers had to protect your information. If you went to a library, that's also fallen under FERPA, where they had to protect your information. So FERPA is, I don't remember the name of, I don't remember. Let me see if I'm going to Google it real quick. FERPA is a regulation. It's called the Family. It's protecting student privacy, but it's the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and that's FERPA. So all of us, even as students, have been exposed to different regulations and policies and procedures. And for those who are all anti-regulation, and following people who are anti-regulation, to be honest, these politicians who say that they're not anti. What they want is to control the regulation. That's what they want. So that's still regulation, and they're still going to want to do things like strong passwords, encryption. Like this is protection of everyone. It's not just one or two people, right? So it's everyone. So let's keep going here. But I want you to always keep in mind what industry you've worked in. It's very relevant to what we're talking about. And as we go along, I'll be asking you questions like, where are you at? So we can relate that to governance, risk management, and compliance. All right, let's keep going. So governance, risk, and compliance. In a nutshell, it's three different categories that are very, very broad. Govern is information management. In a nutshell, that's what it is. An organization's rules to protect the information. But it's also, how do you protect the physical security of the system? How do you lead the culture of the organization? There's a lot of more things to the leadership and the management of the organization. But if I could sum it up in one sentence, it's information management. Risk management, very technical at times. It's resource intensive, but it's identifying and managing the security of an organization. If I could put it to you this way, every single organization has a certain level of risk. And there's no way around. You're not going to ever be 100% secure with anything, no matter what it is. Your home is not 100% secure. Your life is not 100% secure. Your job, your bank, nothing is 100%. Country, nothing. The best we can do is manage the risk as best we can. So how do we do that? You do it. There's several different ways. You've got physical risk management. You've got information risk management. There's tools that we can use. There's all kinds of jobs that allow us to manage the risk. Compliance is what has been made extremely political. And this is the stuff that people hate the most, compliance. But compliance is the thing that kind of wraps everything together, because if you go to a hospital, be in a bed and not have some compliance, you know what I mean? Like, compliance is making sure that the organization, be it a hospital or a bank, is it's making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. Because if the bank is not protecting your information effectively, if the hospital is not protecting your information effectively, it can affect your entire life. It can actually, life is one thing, but another thing is the organization could be brought down if they're not fully compliant, if they're not securing their systems properly. You got ransomware and things like that. So all of these things is kind of they need one another to survive. Governance needs compliance, and both those things together help to manage the risk if you're compliant with all those things. So let's keep going. That's governance, risk, and compliance. It's three separate, huge concepts that have many, many different jobs underneath it. And we'll come back to those as we go. So it's very important you understand the concept of governance, risk, and compliance. And every industry has governance, risk, and compliance. That's what I want you to understand. All right. So in everyday life, you have governance, risk, and compliance. When you go to the bank, when you go to the store, when you go to the hospital, all of these, banking, healthcare, government, retail, all of them have government risk and compliance. Even the government, like when I was when I was in the military, we had something called the PX. We called it PX. I don't know what they call it these, commissary. I don't know what they call it these days. I've been out for a long time. But we had a store on base, basically, and they had to be compliant with, there's government regulations, but they also we use credit cards there. So they had to have PCI DSS in there. So there's a lot of overlap between the different types of regulations and frameworks that you have. Healthcare, same thing. Like you have HIPAA, but they're taking your your card, they have to have a point of sale device, and that point of sale device has to have certain protections on it. So it's in every single industry, and there's a lot of overlap between these three, between all of them. Starting out your GRC journey, there's a few things that are going to help you out. But if you don't have one of these things or more, it's not the end of the world. You can still get into it, but there's a few things that are going to help you out. If you have been in a leadership position, if you have leadership experience, be that in the military, if you are a supervisor, all the way up to if you are a director or a C-level exec, those things are going to help you out with governance, risk, and compliance, especially with the G in the GRC, because govern has to do with making sure that the culture of the organization is intact. It's making sure that you are meeting the spirit of the policies, writing the policies, making sure that people are following them and things like that. So leadership is going to be a huge factor. If you've been a project manager, that's another big one. So it does anybody have leadership experience? Am I talking to any leaders? I'm talking to a whole bunch of people out there who've done any kind of management, supervisory roles, project management on a weekly basis. I talk to you guys, so I know you guys are out there silently watching here. But if you have, maybe tell us about it, and we could talk about it a little bit. So those are important. Leadership experience. Project management, yes, that is a huge part of governance, risk, and compliance, especially the govern portion of governance, risk, and compliance, because what you're doing is you're helping to make sure that if you're doing a project, you're making sure that the organization, that it doesn't adversely impact other parts of other systems within your organization. You're making sure that if there's dependencies that are if there's dependencies in place, that you can still get the work done, that people are following certain rules and regulations. But also, you might have 2 or 3 different units that you have to work with. You might have to work for the ID department, and then you have to go work with the managers, and you've got to make sure everybody's in a line and on the same page. That's govern for sure. So another one is STEM. This also will help you on your GRC journey. If you have any kind of STEM degree, that's STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And the reason why I point those out, and I'm not saying you have to have a degree, okay? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it will help you greatly if on your governance, risk, and compliance journey. The reason why is because, does anybody out there have STEM degrees? Like, you have a science, technology, engineering, mathematics degree, or an IT certification, pro license? Does anybody have any of these things? And the reason why I ask, because these are the companies and organizations who are looking for people to do governance, risk, and compliance roles. A lot of times, one of the requirements that they have to have is some sort of IT certification or some type of degree, some kind of computer science or IT or information systems, or any of those kind of technical degrees is usually what they're looking for. And it's a way to validate that the person knows or is well studied in this certain field. Like, it's one of the ways that they validate. The best way is, of course, experience. But if you have a STEM degree or an IT degree or a computer degree or something like that, it's going to help you out quite a bit. IT certifications are also great. Anything like that is also good. Licenses are also going to be good. Like, if you're a nurse, you're a certified nurse practitioner or something like that, and you're in the field of you would want to leverage that license in the hospital IT. If you wanted to transition to governance, risk, and compliance, being a nurse will actually greatly help you, because that means that will show that you really know the lingo. Maybe you've messed around with Epic, a popular software in hospitals. Maybe you've messed around with medical devices. It's showing, hey, I have a lot of experience in this field. Here's what I've done. Here's my license. I'm a licensed practitioner. And so that's one of the licenses of one of many that you could that would help you in the GRC career field. Another thing is, of course, industry experience, which I talk about every single week. Experience is the biggest thing of all. Like, I've seen some of my, like I always say, some of my mentors had no degree, had no master's degree, had no bachelor's degree, and they were mentoring me and many others. They were just brilliant people. They just had a lot of experience under their belt, and beyond brilliant, they just had a lot of experience. So they were like the graybeards, and they were young guys. But me, I come in with all of these degrees and certifications, and then these guys had none, and they were teaching me everything I know, right? So experience is way beyond having a degree or certification. It's really, really going to help you. understanding GRC concepts, which is kind of what you guys are doing now. You guys are following me. You're trying to learn GRC concepts. But the most important piece of this in learning GRC concepts is to understand how it affects your field. If you are in if you're in the healthcare sector, for example, you need to understand how HIPAA affects that field. If you work in Walmart and you want to be GRC and you're like, you hate Walmart, you hate doing this stuff. But the thing is that you have to understand is Walmart has some of the best technology on earth. It's one of the richest companies on earth. If you can get in that IT department, you will know things that are the cutting, bleeding edge of what's happening right now in governance, risk, and compliance. So you might want to use the leverage of knowing the culture of Walmart and get into and understand the GRC concepts that they're using, and then get into the back rooms of how Walmart is working. So yeah, basic IT knowledge is a must. That's another thing that week after week, I always tell people who are trying to get in this field, it's really, really important you have basic IT knowledge. What is basic IT knowledge? That's understanding how networking works, how the client server model works. You don't have to know all this new stuff. You don't necessarily have to go super deep into cloud. You don't have to go super deep into AI. You don't have to go super deep into quantum computing or whatever, right? Whatever's the new thing that's happening. You have to know basics of what's being used right now. That's AI definitely is being used more and more. Understand the basics of it. Understand the basics of cloud computing. Understand the basics of operating systems. The different types of operating systems that I would know would be probably Linux and Windows, and maybe throw some Mac OS in there. Like, mess around with it. You need to be able to know the command line a bit. So those are some of the basic things that you need to know about IT. Like, I don't have to know just to give you an idea of my job. I'm not tearing computers apart. I'm not doing troubleshooting on fixing servers. I'm not troubleshooting internet working devices like routers or switches for Cisco or Juniper or whatever. But I do have to know some of the known ports, protocols, and services. And sometimes things will come up that I have to know something a little deeper. I'll do some research. I'll talk to subject matter experts to get more information. But I'm involved with so many different things as a GRC person that it would take forever to get super deep on each one of these different things. So, but I have enough knowledge of basic information technology to where when we're having a meeting, I'm not lost during discussions or whatever. So yeah, those are some of the main things that are going to help you out and in your journey for GRC. Foundational requirements, basic IT knowledge, an understanding of GRC. These are things that you can gather on your own if you're trying to get into GRC, but they are a must. Like, you should have a basic IT knowledge, and it's going to take you some time. If you have to take some side quests to know a little bit more, I would definitely I think that you should do that. And then GRC, understanding whatever industry you're in, and then IT experience is going to really, really help you out. Some of the preferred background of GRC is IT experience, and another one would be project management. If you have that as a background, you are a shoe-in. You are set up nicely for governance, risk, and compliance type roles. They're looking for you right now. In fact, I would go so far as to say project management is a GRC type job. So you just basically want to level up from there. And then leadership, as we talked about, this is also something that's going to help you in govern, but you're going to have to get smarter on IT, get more IT under your belt. Industry experience, specifically with things like healthcare, financial sector. Somebody mentioned hospitality. If you have knowledge of what the processes of that organization or of what that industry is, then that's really going to help you out. Like me being in the military, I know how Department of Defense works. I know what kind of policies they use. I know what their missions are. I know the difference between a TS, SCI, a secret, and like I've been there, worked in there. So for me, when I got out of the military and started doing contracting, and I knew how it worked. So I was easily able to get a job with Northrop Grumman, who had a contract with uh, a unit within Department of Defense, because I knew that field. And if you're in the financial sector and you want to do GRC, you have an industry knowledge or industry experience in that is really going to help you out quite a bit. All right, let me just take a quick break here and see if anybody's talking to me. I see you guys. I'm not ignoring you. I just needed to do like 20 minutes. And I got some questions here, so I'll follow through with them, answer those. Let me see here. Start from the top on TikTok. Somebody said, and I'm gonna every week. What I'll do is I'll show you guys more and more of this field of this training that I'm doing. And we'll go deeper and deeper into this as I offer more and more things. We'll go deeper into this. Somebody said GRC, SME here, and I focus on PCI DSS and CMMC. So people like this, Christian Santos, this guy, you want to pick his brain because he knows if you have that kind of experience, you can pick his brain and he's going to be able to tell you what kinds of things you need to get in this field, what kinds of things he has to deal with, what kind of pay does he make. This is a GRC professional right here. That these are the types of people you want to talk to. People are in the field working right now. Let me see, hospitality or Amazon. They were mentioned in different fields and sectors that they're in. And Amazon, I would say, is in the sector of IT professionals, IT services is its own sector, and that includes, it's not just Amazon, that's Google's in there and Microsoft's in there, and there's a few other ones. I mean, there's a lot of other ones. Mr. Khan says banking, telecommunications, those are definitely big industries and sectors. Customer care. I would go a little bit wider and say, what industry are you doing customer care in? Because if you're in hospice or something like that, that would be healthcare sector. Let me see your scheduling, verifying customer. Okay. What else we have here? Looking through the TikTok stuff before I go to the YouTube. Somebody said, I hope people take you seriously. What you're doing can change someone's life. I work in IAM. Yes. So that's why I do this, because this industry has changed my life. And regardless of who's in office, regardless of what goes on with the economy, it does have an impact on me. When the price of eggs or gas or something goes up, of course, that sucks. But I have a job, and even if I get laid off, I'm set up in such a way that I can get one easy in this country or in another country. So I want that for you. And that's why I tell people about this. That's why I'm out here telling. That's why I have books about it. That's why I'm talking about it 24/7, because I want to help you guys get stability. And it's not just about this field. It's really about protecting and taking care of your family in any situation, regardless of who's in power or what's going on. So you're not stressing out about what's going, about the news or doom scrolling or stuff like that. No matter what happens, you're all right. And I've been using the income and stuff that um my income is high, compared to a lot of people. And I realize I'm blessed, and I'm just not saying that to brag. I mean, I make lower than most IT GRC people, so I'm not bragging, so I'm just trying to tell you, hey, I have enough to where I can get a house, I can travel sometimes, I can take care of my kids, I can help them I can build a business on the side, I can, I want that for you. It's really not, it's about stability and being able to take care of you and your own. Just Danny says, can you just can you do just a course of cyber security and have a job on this field? No, no, no. So he's asking, if I could read better. Danny is saying, could you just do a course in cybersecurity and have a job in this field? No. So you're gonna need experience. And cybersecurity, let me be honest with you, cybersecurity is a branch of information technology. It is a specialization of information technology, and GRC is another step specialization of cybersecurity. So the first step, if you're starting from zero, is going to be to learn basic information technology and get your foot in the door in, say, like a help desk or a customer service type position where you're dealing with IT. The thing is, if you happen to be in hotel restaurant management, if you happen to be in retail, working in Walmart, if you happen to be in a humble position where you're working in McDonald's, if you're working in, I don't know, pick a position somewhere. All of these places have information technology. All these places have an IT department. So you can use that as leverage this is what I'm just telling you what I did. I was in the military. I was a grunt. I was a weapons specialist. I can shoot the hell out of M16. I can shoot it's comfortable to me. It's like a little baby. Like I did it for so long that it became a part of me, that M16. But I didn't want to do that. That's not what I wanted to do, I mean, it was cool, but I wanted to do information technology. So I cross-trained, is what we call it in the Air Force, into computers. And that's what you need to do. Like wherever field you happen to be in, they have an IT department there. So what you need to do is figure out how you can get yourself some hands-on experience in their IT department. You might have a small office and sometimes the router goes down. Maybe make yourself, if you're in a position where you can help, lend a helping hand to fix the router or the systems in your office or something. That can go on your resume. That can go towards your experience. If you happen to be in healthcare, you're lucky because they really do need IT professionals there. Good IT professionals who know your field. If you're in, same thing with because they need people who know HIPAA, and HIPAA ties directly into some of the IT protection of information, the customers, patients' information, right? So if you're in finance sector, same thing applies. Try to use your current experience as leverage to get into IT and then go deeper into IT. You might not even want to do cybersecurity once you go deeper into IT. There's so many different levels to IT, different branches. There's network engineering, there's cloud engineering, which is super hot right now. There's stuff in AI has getting its own branch, and you've got all kinds of different branches that's going off in all these different directions. So the first step, if you're brand new, is to learn IT and use whatever you happen to be at, whatever field, whatever sector you happen to be at. Try to use that as leverage to transition into IT. Riley says, what's the pay like? The pay is very good for governance, risk, and compliance. The pay is very good. But like I said, it is a specialization of IT. So IT, when you start off, is not going to make that much money. But there's an upward mobility in IT if you're willing to do the work. If you're a go-getter, if you're willing to do the work, there's definitely levels to this. You can go from an IT help desk person to a network engineer, to a firewall professional, to an architect. I'm not saying that's easy. There's levels and steps to this that are going to go deeper and deeper and more hardcore into technology that's going to get harder and harder, but you can do it. You can definitely do it. If I can do it, look, I'm a high school dropout. If I can do this, you can do it. I started off as help desk. Let's go all the way back. I started off when I went to the military. I was a grunt. Like I said, I was a weapons specialist, and just learned how to shoot a bunch of weapons. And it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I cross-trained and I did help desk. The first thing they would do is you would do on-the-job help desk. I was taking fixing people's laptops and desktops and stuff, workstations. And then I was able to mess around with networks, right? And I didn't know everything immediately. I had to learn from scratch, just like everybody. I had to learn how to back up Cisco routers, had to learn how to do config T and do configurations in there, and subnet mask and all that kind of stuff. And I did that for like a couple years. And then I got exposed to like Unix. These are different jobs that I did over my career, and some of them were real technical and stuff like that. And then they got pushed into this governance, risk, and compliance. And I have to be honest, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But over time, what I've learned is it's because it's a specialization, they pay more, and it pays way more than your average basic IT person. Um, that said, you got to start. Everybody has to start from the bottom, and then you work your way up. And in IT, you can work your way up pretty fast. Like we're talking months, not years. Like if you're a go-getter, if you're willing to do the work within your organization, you could work your way up in months, not years. And it depends on you, how hard you want to work, how hardcore you are at this, how dedicated you are. If you're willing to do the work, you can do it. You can get into a job at, say, a network wireless company hooking up cable, right? And if you're a go-getter, you get yourself like a network certification. Next thing you know, you're troubleshooting networks across the region, and then you're offered a pay raise. Maybe it's not that much in the beginning, and then you're like, okay, well, I got a certification now. I want to level up. You can go work now that you have 6 months, 8 months of experience, and you've been doing network engineering for about four or 5 months, and you have a certification in Juniper or Cisco or whatever technology you guys are using. You put that on your resume, somebody's going to offer you more money, and then it's up to you whether you want to take that chance and go with that other job or not. So there's definitely a lot of scalability. Just to let you know, like I've I've been working. I've got 20 years of experience. I make 135, something like that, with benefits. I work from home. To be honest, that's not a lot. Like I know some people, it's relative. Some people are like, oh shit, you got me like 100 and you make six figures. There's guys making way more than me. Like, so I'm not trying to brag. Like way more than me with 20 years of experience. So yeah, so um it's up to you. You can level up. Frank Dust says struggling to get a job in cybersecurity. So I get this one a lot. And what I always tell people is kind of the way that I was able to do it. What the way that I was able to do this in a nutshell, I won't keep it too long. I got a lot of questions and stuff, people talking and stuff. So I appreciate everybody's comments here. Here's what you do. If you want to level up, if you want to get a job in this field, first of all, if you're brand new to this and you're going straight for a cybersecurity job, don't do that. You're going to be competing with people who have 20 years experience. You're going to be competing with me. And you're starting off with not even 1 year of experience, right? You're a student or something. What you want to do is go for local jobs. There's a few things you can do. If you go overseas, they're always looking for people overseas. They'll pay you more money, and sometimes they'll do on-the-job training for you. Where do you find them? Dice, Monster, LinkedIn. You got to put yourself out there. Another one will be local jobs that do things like wiring cables and stuff. So those guys start off, small, like in $20 an hour, $18 an hour, up to $30 an hour, something like that. Depends on what part of the country you're in. But those guys, those dudes who are doing the wires and stuff for your house, hooking up your internet, that's a great entry level job for IT, for deeper IT. If you're starting off, you got to start off where you are. Okay. Don't try to, I think what happens is a lot of people they don't have leadership experience. They don't have, 10 years in the military. They weren't a project manager. They didn't do IT for 3 years. They don't have none of that stuff. And you're coming from another field or something like that. Listen, you got to start where you are. That means you got to start with a help desk job. tighten up your resume. If you want experience, if you want to know how to do that, you can download my resume. Just go to ConvoCourses.com, look for my free resume, download it. Look at how I write my resume. It's nothing special. It's a pretty shitty resume, but it's been getting me jobs for the last 7 years. Look at how I put the keywords together. Look at how copy what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not telling you to copy what I'm saying on my resume word for word, but copy what I'm doing. Okay. Let me see here. I got some questions and comments and stuff on YouTube. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate it. Hospitality. I already read that one. Project managers. My man Larry. Hey Larry, how you doing? Security expert. How you doing, man? Hello, beautiful humans. Got some real positive people here. And okay. Somebody asked me or said, hey, I have an A plus, a security plus, and next week I'm testing out for my CIPT from IAPP. And says, am I missing something? And Ryan comes in and says, he says A plus, Net plus, Security plus, our holy trinity of basic IT certs. Yes, I agree with that. These are my first 3 certifications. First 2 actually were A plus, CompTIA A plus, and Network plus were very, very useful to me to know the lingo of IT. And I know some of my peers out there say, don't get the A plus certification or whatever. I disagree with that. I humbly disagree with that, because if you're brand new to this, if you're coming from another field, like you're a teacher or something, you don't know IT much, you're in your late 30s, IT is not your thing. You weren't born into it like some of these Gen Z people, or maybe you are Gen Z, you're just not an IT person. It's just hard for sometimes it's difficult there's a learning curve, I should say, not necessarily difficult, but when you first start, it's like a foreign language. Like people are saying, all this jargon that's computer related, and you don't understand it. But A plus certification it allowed me to see the landscape. Like after I got, and it's not really about the certification itself. It's about the curriculum in there. I think CompTIA does a pretty good job of the curriculum, that they teach all the fundamentals that you really need to know in A plus certification. If you don't know anything, if you're a help desk guy, don't waste your time with A plus. You already know that stuff, right? So don't waste your time with Net plus or A plus. Go straight to Security plus, because Security plus is a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder, and they're expecting you to know some stuff. So entry level career for privacy, yeah. And I would, I know you're trying to get your foot in the door. For the first, if you're trying to get your foot in the door, don't be too picky. The first thing you need to do is just get your foot in the door. Like get your foot in the door at a local on-site job. Get in there, even if they're help desks, not necessarily privacy or whatever, but let's say it's help desk or something. Just get your foot in the door. And my man Ryan is giving some great advice. Ryan, by the way, has a great free guide on the CGRC, and great guide on the CGRC. And Ryan, man, if you want to plug your book here, the link to it so people can go check it out. Free resource, great book, great dude. I had him on the show once. And he says, as you grow older in the career, you transition to Security Plus, SYSA, and a CASP, now known as a Security X, to be a CompTIA security analytics expert. Yep, absolutely. And I've heard that the Security X is pretty hard, by the way, from a close friend of mine. And Ryan says, beyond that, as you approach your 5 to 7 years in the field, you should look into a CISSP and ISC2. This guy's not lying. That's how you do it right there. The CISSP is no joke. It's very difficult, but if you can get that thing, it's a life changer. That certification, I would put that on par This is just my personal opinion. I don't want to piss people off here, but that CISSP, I was thinking about getting a master's degree. Let me just put it to you this way. I had a bachelor's degree, but after I got that CISSP, I got so many offers and opportunities with that. I was like, I don't really need a master's degree anymore. Um, Not to say you shouldn't get, like, especially if you're a manager or something like upper level manager, then yeah, you should probably get a master's degree. I'm not trying to talk people out of it. Then Ryan says, he says, I'm now a CISSP ISSMP, which is that is a specialization of the CISSP and is arguably the top of my game right now. Absolutely. That's the same. I agree. And it's something my partner is studying for her PhD. It's a mixture of education, certification, on the job experience and industry experience. And it says that industry experience and participation becomes more and more important as you grow older. You need to know the industry, not just your job. Absolutely. Knowing an industry, whatever industry you happen to be in, and I would expand on what he says here is whatever industry you happen to be in. Like, let's say you just been in healthcare industry for a very long time. You know, you started off as a CNA or something, you cross train into being an IT person, and you just kind of stayed with it, and you're in it for like 6, 7 years. What happens is you become your specialization becomes your superpower. I mean, I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. That's kind of what's happened. I've ventured off into other industries. I ventured off into I worked for Verizon, and I was a cyber risk professional. Like, we'd go and run assessments on clients. And it was fun, man. I loved it, but I was out of my element. I mean, I liked it. I was challenging. Why did I leave? I mean, it paid way better than what I make now, but I left because the travel, really. But I was out of my element. I was learning stuff all the time, which was great. But my real industry is GovTech. I can do it in my sleep. It's easy for me because I've been doing it so long. So I kind of just know what to do now. You know, if I'm in another industry, I've done the healthcare industry a bit. I've done, you know, whatever industry Verizon's in. I believe that's IT professional services or something like that. I did that. I was out of my element, so I was learning that industry as I went, and which was fun and it paid more. But what Ryan is what I to piggyback on what he's saying is once you know an industry really well, it becomes like a superpower. Like, you know that industry, you know, like, little nuances of it that I'll put it to you this way. I'll be on an interview with someone for a job, and I know so much. I'll be teaching the people who are on the interview just because I've been doing this. So I'm not trying to brag. It's just I've been doing this a long time. So in this industry, in GovTech. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Is that good? Good to go? No? No audio. Okay, hold on. Okay, give me a second here, guys. They can hear me on TikTok, but not on thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay, they said they can hear me. Is that better? Yeah. Thanks. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I unplugged my mic by accident. So what I was saying was sound staticky. Shit. It's always something with sound, man. My God. Okay. Anyway, I was talking about Linux. So Linux is one of the best operating systems, and if you know that, it's going to help you out with all other technology, because a lot of technologies are built. A lot of technologies are built on using Linux. Okay, can you guys hear me now? TikTok. I'm using like 3 different applications. I definitely need to change my rig here. Test, test, test. Quality isn't like before. Okay. Let me see if I can fix it. Test, 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 test. Okay, let me try something. Fixing this stuff on the fly. Can you hear me now? Test, 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 test. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, guys. I apologize if the sound is not the best. I'll work on that next week. Okay. Let me see here. We're good. Okay, we're good. Yes, I apologize for that. I accidentally unplugged it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for all your comments. I'm seeing so many conversations going on here. I really appreciate that. Folks helping out each other. That's what it's all about. That's why I do this. And Resilient says, I hated it. I hated it as well, but the more I get into it, the more I realize how important and how much they'll pay to do the work and learn it. And you're referring to governance, risk, and compliance, I assume. Yeah, I really didn't, when I first started doing it, it's not really what I wanted to do. I really enjoy networking. Now that I'm older, I appreciate it a lot. I really appreciate this work. I think I just, because I know it so well and it's just easy for me. And now that I have this, I've gone to other industries and I understand that it works as used everywhere. With a greater understanding, it's allowed me to expand my career path. Thank you so much for that donation. I appreciate you, sir. Resilience says, I want to find a mentor in this field, and it's not willing to pay for this service on a monthly basis. Any suggestions? So this is something I'm building out right now. I'm not ready to accept anybody right now, but who is Will Reed. So Will Reed, and he's at bettereverydaycyber.com. bettereverydaycyber.com, and he's taking mentees. Let me show you his site right here. Here it is right here, bettereverydaycyber.com. And great guy. Very, very, very knowledgeable, super sharp, and his site is way better than mine. It still pisses me off. All right, let me see. Okay, GRC is very important. Executive buy-in and highly important. Executive buy-in and highly important. Yeah, executive buy-in. Yeah, that's part of it. Like getting the leadership to buy into it and backing you up. And it's just that's kind of where some of the stress of it comes in. Not everybody can do this. I've realized not everybody wants to do this. Here in Colorado Springs, we have an organization called the ISSA. This is an international organization with chapters everywhere, and you can find industry mixers and people who talk. Yeah, okay, this is great. I'm glad you brought this up. So what I want to show you guys is what Ryan's talking about. So he is referring to, you go to Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever, and you type in, let's say Colorado Springs, Colorado, and then I want to find an ISSA chapter. So this is an Information System Security Association. And they have one in every major city. Here's the one from Denver. They have membership, they have events, they have job events, they have vendor events, and they have one in Colorado Springs. They have one in, if you happen to be in New York, they have them in Texas. They have everywhere. Every major city has one of these, and they're awesome. And it's a great way to network, meet other people, like-minded folks, and even find jobs and all kinds of stuff. So ISSA is a great. Uh, when I first started in here in Colorado, I went to my first ISSA meeting. It was great. They have free food, everything. Okay. Loadout Lab says, any thoughts on Katie Arrington being appointed DoD CISO? Does this open any doors for more CMMC assessors? Do you know what that process looks like? I don't know much about the CMMC per se. I know it borrows a lot from the NIST 800. I know it's NIST 800 once. It's related to NIST 800 171. I know a bit about it, but I can't speak on it eloquently. I'd have to like do some research and put some slides together or something. I don't do it on a regular basis, and I'm not sure who Katie Arrington is, but I'll look it up real quick. Let me see before I say something that I shouldn't say. Katie Arrington, and this is Katie Arrington, and she's been given the DoD CISO role. Well, let's see what she does. I mean, it's hard to say. I like to give people a chance. I like to give people a chance. I don't. Let's see what happens. Like, give them a chance. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Let's look what they do, and then if they happen to destroy the country, then we'll know. We'll see. Let's give her a chance. Okay, she says CMMC is not pausing. CMMC is going to stay in place, and there's no question about that. Okay, that's good. And CMMC, they're explaining here in this article, CMMC will be a cornerstone in DIB cybersecurity. DIB is DoD industry. It's companies who support the Department of Defense. So for those who don't know, and I just spouted off a whole bunch of acronyms, the CMMC is the Cybersecurity Maturity Model. Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification program, and is what's used by organizations who want to do business with the Department of Defense. So specifically the DIB, which is Defense Industrial Base. So that's like, give you an example, would be like a company who does tires, and one of their main vendors is the Army. And so they do tires for the Army. And those tires, let's say it's a specialized tire that goes on some new Humvee, and it's not classified, but it is sensitive information. And so they have to do certain things to make sure to give assurance to the Department of Defense that they have a certain level of security. And so that's where the cybersecurity maturity model certification would come in. So they would put all the security features on their, let's say their servers and their workstations that process the information on those tires that they're going to deliver to the U.S. Army, right? And then this program right here would make sure that they have certain security that they're supposed to have to protect those tires or whatever plastics or whatever they're making for the Department of Defense. So it's like they're processing information and doing work for the Department of Defense, but it's not a Department of Defense system that's doing it. Does that make sense? So that's where you would have something like a cybersecurity maturity model certification, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I think that the concern, and correct me if I'm wrong, Loadout Lab, that is that the current administration has appointed people who have been very adverse to any kind of regulation, and they'll willy-nilly come and fire a bunch of people, and it's causing a lot of issues in our space, in defense, in GovTech. It's just causing a lot of disruption, and I think that we all know that the government is bloated. We all know that there's some problems with financing. We all know that there's corruption or something going on where they're spending way too much money, right? We all know there's a problem. We all know that it needs to be solved. I think we disagree with how to solve it. I think that we Americans, we disagree with how that's going to be solved, and that's kind of where Loadout is talking about, like, okay, this new person's coming in here. Are they going to come in and get rid of DFARS or get rid of CMMC? And right here, Katie is saying, that she's not going to do that. I'm willing to give people a chance, to be honest with you. She's saying, we're not going to get rid of it. Some people who've been in this industry or who have worked in the weeds on these things, they know that we need cybersecurity, right? They're not going to just put a server on a network and start pulling information, or pull a whole bunch of sensitive information off the network and do God knows what with it or something. I mean, normally we, so yeah, I feel your pain, but it looks like, I would say just give her a chance. We don't know what's going to happen with each day that passes by. We're learning new things. I don't know how this is going to turn. I'm happen to be affected by all this stuff that's happening. I'm seeing it play out in real time, and without revealing too much about where I work or what I'm doing, I am working in GovTech, and it is going to affect me. So we'll see where it goes. Taking it one day at a time, and got to stop myself from doom scrolling. And I do research on anything I'm finding out, and I think you guys should too. Don't panic. Panicking is not going to help. I understand the changes that are happening are pretty drastic, but panicking is not going to help us, right? Like, we just got to for me, what I've been thinking is that the greatest impact that's going to affect me is my own actions, not the president, not the administration, not another government. my actions, and then how I react to what's happening. How I react is the thing that's going to impact me and my family the most. So I've got to be smart about how I react to these things and make moves based off of what's the greatest impact, positive impact to me and my family. And so I'm just taking it one day at a time, and we'll see how it goes. You know, I'm not sitting here pretending like I know what's happening or whatever. Lodell says, same. It's hard. I want to bury my head in the sand, but I can't because I don't want to be blindsided. I know how you feel, man, because like sometimes watching the news and all the stuff that's going on, it's like, what the hell is what is happening? What is happening? Like, oh my God, I don't know. I've never seen anything like this before. I've worked for, I don't know, 4 administrations, and it was hard. Like I'd say like one of the hardest times was during the Bush administration when we went to war. We had fighting like 3 wars at once or something. And I was in the military and during some of that, and it was everybody, I mean, contrary to popular belief, not all soldiers were happy about that. Let me tell you something. We weren't all happy about it, you know. In hindsight, you just follow direction, you follow orders, but you're not always happy about where you got to go or why you're doing it. I mean, it's not always cool. It was very stressful. That was one of the most stressful times I've ever had, and a bunch of people got out at that time. Ryan says, we're going through a major shift in the military command structure in the following weeks, and you're going to see the creation of a 4-star command, of a new 4-star command, my guess. Another 4-star command. What do you think? What do you think? What kind of command are we seeing here? I want to hear your thoughts on this one. 4-star command. It's gonna be like I mean the last time, you mean like what happened with the last one, which was which was Space Force, something like that. Oh shit. Google Iron Dome. Let's do it together. Let's Google Iron Dome together. Come on guys, let's have fun. Let's have a good old time. Oh my God. Now what? What is this, Ryan? What have you done? What have you done? Iron Dome for America automatically popped up. Oh Lord, what is happening? What is this? Oh my God. Oh boy, the Iron Dome for America. When was this released? January 27. Man, I've been sleeping. By the authority vested in the president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The threat of attack by ballistic, hypersonic cruise missiles, and other advanced aerial attacks remain the most catastrophic threat facing the United States. President Ronald Reagan endeavored to build an effective defense against nuclear attacks, and while the program resulted in many technological advances, it was canceled before he's going to start up Star Wars. And since the United States withdrew from the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty in 2002 and initiated development of a limited homeland missiles defense. Okay, where are we going with this? For the past one, okay. Looks like they're gonna develop some giant. This reminds me of Iron Man, like when he says, I want to make an iron suit over the planet Earth. Is that what we're doing? Allied Defense Theater Missile Review. Okay. Interesting. I didn't see this one. Thanks, Ryan. I missed this one. Increase bilateral and multilateral cooperation on missile defense technology. Interesting. Allied and theater missile defense review. What allies? That's what I want to know. Okay, let's see here. Iron Dome. Interesting. Interesting. Learn something new every day. Okay. Wow, this is wild. This is wild, 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 wild west. Additionally, fidelity, the Trump space comm instability between Colorado Springs and Huntsville. Oh boy. It's just never ending. Never ending. I don't know. Um, I do want there to be more transparency. I do want us to be better about how much money we're spending. I just don't. I think we just disagree on how it's being done. I think I think that the main thing is that we just. I don't want to turn this show into something it's not. You know, I don't. I'm not smart enough to talk about those things, but just my 2 cents. And on that note, I think next week I'll continue with the GRC breakdown, GRC roadmap breakdown. But real soon, I've got some stuff coming out. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks, Ryan, for chiming in. I appreciate you. I'm definitely going to Google this, do more research on this. Have you guys seen some of the news about what Microsoft did about the new quantum computing technology they came up with another state of matter to make a more stable quantum chip? Crazy. Amazing stuff happening. Your contact email, no problem, sir, no problem. And Larry, if you're still watching me, if you could, I really want to help you out. If you've got something going on, man, I'll help you to with your resume if you need help, your profile, your resume, whatever. I know that some government workers are going through some hard times, and I would like to help you directly. And that's my contact information if you want help. Nobody believes Microsoft. I think it's real. I'm pretty sure it's real. Yeah, and there's definitely some people I don't believe when they come out with stuff. I don't believe anything they say until without a lot of evidence. I don't. If it comes from their mouth, I don't believe it. But I don't. Microsoft tried to release this like almost 10 years ago, and then they made a mistake and they had to repeal what they said. This is different, but I guess until it's released, nobody believes Microsoft. I love that. Let me see here. All right, guys, I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Larry, once again, there's my email. I want to help you out, man. Just send me your email address. Send me your resume. And anybody else, if you happen to be working in the government, if you're a government employee, let me help you I'll help you directly. Just email me, tell me what your position is. Let me check out your resume. I can't do this for 100 people, but I can definitely spare some time to help out a few people because it's just bad, man. I don't know what's going on. Do you usually go live on Saturdays? Yes. Usually it's around this time Saturday between about 12 and 2. Sometimes I got to go a little early. I would like to do a lot more lives, but I got a full-time job, and that job is crazy. This Iron Dome thing, man. What the hell are we? What are we looking at here? That's what I want to know. Wow. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I will talk to you guys next week, Saturday. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'll try to do more if I can, but I got a lot of stuff to do. Thanks for joining on TikTok. Appreciate you guys. And thank you so much on YouTube. And there's my contact information. I am out of here. Have a good one. You too.